everybody. I'm Jeanine Staples. I am founder of the Supreme Love Project. Welcome back to another Supreme Love Project. I am here with the one and only Shanda Sumpter.
Hi, how are you?
Oh my God, this is a thrill for me. I feel so excited to meet you live and in person. And I really want to welcome you to this space. Thank you for taking the time to be with us today.
I am absolutely happy to be here with you.
So I'd like to yield the floor to you just for 20 seconds. Give us an overview. There are members of our community who are familiar with your work, who know exactly who you are, and there are members who have no idea. So
Yes.
Could you just tell us who you are, what you do in the world, and why you do what you do in the world?
Yeah, well, okay, so who I am, it's so funny because we always classify ourselves by what we do for work, right? But who I really am is a mother. I am a woman who started my company with a lot of self-doubt and shyness and second-guessing myself, and I just wanted to make $5,000 a month, and I thought I'd be rich. Like at $5,000 a month, I was like, I can pay my mortgage that I stretched to get this tiny little condo, and I could just, you know, never have to worry about money again, and that was $5,000 for me. And I don't know, I mean, it's crazy how this thing has grown, but, you know, it's just grown into this empire that I just pinch myself and realize, wow, like from a girl who came from a broken family, you know, my mom's boyfriend when I was young used to wake me up in the middle of the night and beat me where my mom didn't know. Like, I know there's lots of places I could go dive into, but like, you know, I had all of that, which I'm sure many people have had their variation of hardship. And then I had the princess lifestyle where, you know, I didn't meet my dad till grade 6, but when I met him, I was in agreement between my mom and my dad. When I met him, it was like we were locked together for life. And in fact, I just moved him to Encinitas, San Diego, so we're around each other. And what's crazy is that my dad is who showed me what it's like to be inside my first limousine and negotiate my first business deal, and like really believed in me. Even when I was, you know, 12 years old, he treated me like I was 25 years old and I could just go do it. He put me in university during summertime of the summer going into grade 12 because he wanted me to know what it was like to go to university. And I remember thinking, oh, it's summertime, really? You know, and then put me in a private school and did all the things that, like, I think a lot of parents want to do. And then my dad lost it all. And, you know, now, you know, I take care of my father and it's a whole different world, right? And I just think to myself, thank you that not only did my dad teach me, but I've been blessed with following my heart and growing something that's really meaningful. And thank God I figured out what I do that's useful for other people and be able to make a difference.
That's it. Okay, so thank you.
Yeah.
Brilliant storytelling. I appreciate that so much. So the women who are attracted to the Supreme Love Project, Shanda, are very much like the person you described in your before story of your after story that you're living right now. It's the women who lack self-confidence, who've been codependents, who lack a voice, who don't understand what boundaries are, who don't feel authentic, who don't even really know what that means. And they have drawn in narcissistic abuse, for example, and they have gone through pain cycles over and over again. They come to the Supreme Love Project to build their lover identity back. It's where you can redefine your relationship to love. You can redefine, and I'm not a dating coach. That's not what I do. I'm a soul coach. So I support women in redefining their identities. And now we're coming to this place in the Supreme Love Project where women are saying, okay, now my love identity is solid. I'm feeling stronger. I'm better. I'm bigger. Now I'd like to do something in the world. I'd like to write a book. I'd like to start a company. I'd like to travel the world. I'd like to get married. I'd like to have kids.
I'm going to share this with you. I have to share this with you. I'm reading this book called Called to Create. Have you heard of it?
I heard about it this morning on 6 a.m. with Shanda.
Yeah, so it's great because it has you ask these questions, which I was talking about on my Facebook Live this morning. You know, first of all, there's all these people in this world. So I don't care what people's religion is or what their faith is. Hopefully you believe in something other than just yourself, right? Just something other than the fact that, I mean, when we die, our body gets left here, all of our things get left here, and we go somewhere else. There's all these stories of people seeing the white light, you know, my friend, Daniel, they did a TV show about him because he's died 3 times. There's a lot of things that people miraculously being healed. I have a friend's mother got healed from cancer literally in the last couple months, just prayer.
I believe. Yeah.
So this book is about all these different successful entrepreneurs and people, really, the entrepreneurs are just people that have literally followed scripture to run their companies. And there's a common denominator, these 3 questions that they all ask each other. What am I passionate about?
Yeah.
But what you're passionate about serves you. What gifts have God given you, or spirit, or whatever has given you, right? Often those are the gifts that you've been criticized for.
Interesting.
You know what I mean? Like when I was little, my mom and people would always be like, you always have something to say. Well, I'm a coach. You know what I mean? That's why I have my son in Montessori school, because they look for what is he naturally doing that he's strong at and attracted to versus fit into this box like everybody else, right? And so what are the gifts that God has given you? Then the third question is where do you have the greatest opportunity to love others? Is that not beautiful? Like, I don't know why that just stopped me in my tracks. I was like, oh, I just love that. Like, and then it goes on to talk about all these incredible, huge companies that we see in the world. And again, they're just people running them. And where did they find that intersection between their talents? Every single person has a talent, right? And so God is love. And so everything that when you're operating in that vibration, things really do work. However, you have these thoughts of self-doubt and these things that come in. And it's like, again, going back to scripture, it's like, there is nothing in scripture that says that it's just going to come easy. Nothing came easy for Jesus. Nothing came easy. I mean, I don't know all the different scriptures, but I'm just saying that there's no spiritual text other than the ones that have been tweaked by humans, right? There's no real spiritual, the Tao Te Ching, there's no real spiritual text that is biblical in scripture that actually says, I can sit here and wait for it all to come.
Right.
Now there's tweaks that you can do, which, like play good music, to get yourself in a higher vibration. But at the end of the day, you're in a battle against something, whatever that is. You're in a battle on this earth against something that gets into your thoughts.
Yeah.
And so you've got to find a way to get into, the love, the vibration of love, because that's when you're in synergy with your success. But don't think that it's supposed to always feel great, because that just is not called human life.
Yeah, it's not the way it works. It's not the way it works. Yeah, I completely hear you, and I'm glad that you're giving us that resource. So that's also really powerful stance for people in this community to hear, because that moving over into a space where you can believe for more, like you can start to even fathom that you can have more, like a bigger life, a healthy relationship, a happy family, where you can feel confident, where you can actually conceive of something really powerful. It's a big leap for a lot of people, but I don't know if it has to be, I don't think it needs to take years to believe. No. It doesn't
it's a willingness. It's a willingness. So, first and foremost, remember my start to growing Heartcore business was like $5,000 a month. And I thought, oh, I'll be happy. I'll never have to worry about money again. That will be the source of my happiness, right? And whatever your journey is, I just trust that everybody's walking the journey they're supposed to be walking, and that it's all working and it's all been working. And sometimes it feels like nothing's working, but it's all working, right? And so it just takes the moment where you just say, you know what, I can either choose to believe that my life is not going to work, or I can choose to believe that I'm going to find the man of my dreams. I found Ash in 90 days, my husband, but I got so clear that it was going to be a priority finding my husband, because my biological clock was ticking and I wanted to have a baby, right? And so when things become a priority, trust me, they will start working in your life. Yeah. The only reason why something hasn't worked yet is because, honestly, you might think, like, it was a priority for me to find my husband at 25. But let's be honest. It wasn't until I was in my mid-30s that I went, maybe I need to like figure this thing out, you know, and hire a good coach and go figure out like what's in between me and finding a great guy and finding a guy who's available. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of them out there. I see them every day walking down the earth, you know, like, and so eventually you get out of your own way when it becomes a priority and the pain is enough for you to do something.
Right.
And so I will say, working with psychologists and people that I work with, to learn how the brain works, because I'm really committed to not being a business coach or a coach in this world that just kind of goes off just my experience. I really am committed to looking at like what's happening in science and things like that. It's just really important to me. Scripture is important to me. The brain's important to me based on the work that I do. And so, we're just trying to get people to execute on strategies to build businesses, right? And so our brain seeks what feels familiar. And there's a psychologist here in San Diego who wrote a book called Driven, and it's for driven people. And like, we think that we call it our comfort zone, which it is our comfort zone, because what's familiar to us is our comfort zone. But it's the reason why, you know, someone who, let's say, gets beaten by a man seems to go into a room, and how the heck does she find, or he finds her? All that, like, it's like the reoccurring relationship. Let's take it out of like that much drama and let's put it into the drama of like, I have a girlfriend right now, owns a beautiful company, has a beautiful son, and she always dates men who cheat. Always. She actually moved from another state to our state because she thought that there would be better, decent men here. And then when she got here, because she believed in it, which I believe, she believed that there were decent men in San Diego. So then all of a sudden she started having really decent dates with guys that looked like they were packaged better. Lo and behold, the man she fell in love with was cheating on her, right? And so how does that happen, right? And it's because our brain seeks what is familiar,
right?
You know, and so it's important that you grow in small steps, that you have big beliefs on where you're going. The endurance is critical. It's critical. You are always running a marathon, and you keep passing finish lines, and celebrate the finish lines as you finish the race. And it's like anything. After a woman has a baby, often, not always, she forgot about what it was like to be pregnant if she had a bad pregnancy. And she's like, let's do it again. You know, like, it's like, you know, you got hurt before and you meet a man or a woman that just lights you up. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, I forgot all the pain of the last one for a short period of time, until you start to sabotage your way back into familiar. So you've got to find a way to grow in a way that stretches you. But, you know, I used to think that I had to land the big deal to make the big money. And it wasn't until now in my career that I can land the big deal. But that's because I have stretched myself with all these little wins.
Right. Little by little by little. And I feel like there are so many people in this community who are moving into that direction of building that faith, of are underestimating how strong your soul is, how strong your subconscious like mapping is, and how much endurance it really takes to stay with yourself, to keep forgiving yourself, to keep investing yourself, to keep going in and working with yourself and with your coach. So tell us a little bit about how you built up your endurance, because you've got major endurance.
I run. I do endurance challenges. I hire people like Jesse Itzler, who is the husband of Sarah Blakely, who owns Spanx. I put people around me who have strong endurance. And because I've been able to attract these people because of Heartcore Business, I'm now able to attract, it's in my belief system that I can be friends with these people now. And so now I develop these really authentic friendships and create these really cool opportunities. I always have a physical endurance in my life. Even when I was pregnant, at 6 months pregnant, I still did a half marathon. Whenever I slow down on my physical endurance, and I've since learned this, one of the best times for you to sit down and create and build something, or like, create anything, a book, a program, anything, sit down and have a conversation and create something in your marriage. The best time to do that is actually after you've been physically active, because of the way your brain is wired, the way it fires. And so, that's one tweak, because it's really hard for me, or I think, at least I'll just say my experience, but now I've taught this to thousands of people, right? But it's like, I started noticing that, especially like, let's just take building my company. I worked a lot, but it, like, that feeling like it's not going anywhere. I still have $2,000 in the bank all year. You know what I mean? Like, there's still not enough of anything despite the amount of work. That was always happening to me. But when I started endurance training, what happened was I noticed I had a 3-day pattern. And every 3 days I would sabotage. I couldn't notice that in my business because I was so vested in my business succeeding and felt like I was giving it my all. But it's really easy to see when you were supposed to run, swim, or lift weights, over 3 days. And the third day of every week, like if you put an X, that's what we do in endurance, put an X on the calendar and you make a railroad track. And you'll notice that your railroad track breaks somewhere. And if you notice, it breaks the same place pretty much all the time, right? And so then if you start looking in your business, your eating habits, your marriage, many women can map their husbands. Oh, he goes sideways right here. Do you know what I mean? They know when he's going to go sideways in a relationship, in a conversation. They know. That's why we know what we can and can't say to people. Your friendships like that. You already know these patterns. So you can break them in physical endurance. You can break them quicker than I've ever seen anybody being able to break them anywhere else. Somebody goes and does a Spartan race. My friend Joe DeStena owns Spartan. Go to a Spartan challenge and do a race and see what you're like at the end of that race. Sarah Blakely went and did a challenge. Branson, she did a challenge with Richard Branson. But Richard Branson now has endurance challenges. Come on, you guys, you've got to put it together. Like, it is a big part. So people will say, well, I don't like to run, or that's my point. That's my point. Like, so the believing of what you want, the calling that's in your heart, it's required for you to stretch. And when you're used to really not stretching, and people think they're stretching, no, you're in the struggle. And if you could be out of the struggle, you would be out of it in 2 seconds. Versus making peace with it and actually looking for the struggle. And now it transforms into a challenge that now starts to drive you. So I don't believe that people watch programs like this because they're not driven. They're driven. They're driven on some level. Otherwise, they would be sitting in an apartment watching TV and they would not be doing any personal development. People who do personal development are driven. Whatever level of quitting, the circle of quitting that you're in, some people are right down with, I'm almost done and I'm out, right? I'm too old, I'm too sick, I'm whatever. And they're pretty much talking themselves out. And then there's another group that are like, you know what, I'm getting kicked in the stomach right now, but I know I can do this, right? Wherever you're at in that circle, you'll be all over that circle at some point.
Right.
And so it's just really important to realize that everybody could physically get themselves into an endurance challenge, whether that's walking for you, whatever that is. Like, there's walking challenges, but get into a daily endurance challenge and don't ever let it out of your life, ever. Because if you do, you will start to slip back.
That's huge. And so many women I know right now are like gasping in unbelief, not thinking that there's a connection, that there's a relationship between your physical endurance and your soul's endurance, like your ability to commit to tasks, to finish projects,
it's all
to
connected.
People, really to have that longevity.
It's all connected. I'll just say one last thing. It's like, they're starting to realize that the gut might be your actual brain. And I'm not educated enough to talk about it, but I am in a mastermind with people who, are billionaires, and billionaires think differently and they have different access to health than the rest of us do. They just do. I hate to say it that way, but they just do. They have different access. People say that money doesn't buy health. That's a lie. It does. It does. It really does. You know, even from the basics of buying healthy food, you know, it does. It gives you access to, there are many doctors on this planet that do not take medical. And most people don't even know about them because it's not even in their realm of understanding or belief that they could even pay for them, right? And so remember, we're living in these microcosms of belief, right? But your gut is directly connected with your brain, which is directly connected with your heart. Okay, so where are your thoughts coming from? So there's a lot of research around addiction where people think it's a mental thing and it's a trauma, which it is. It definitely is. And if you're an entrepreneur, you probably got some level of trauma in your life. Most people do, right? There's people who become alcoholics at 40, 50 years old. Addiction is a very interesting thing. But what they've realized is that even after 12-step, which is fantastic and really works, to get rid of the cravings, you have to address the microbiome in your gut, right? And so all these things are connected. And so we're making decisions on what book do I read? Do I finish books, or am I the type of person who starts them and doesn't finish it? You know, do I start New Year's resolutions, but I don't finish them? Do I set goals and then I talk myself out of them? You know, do I say I'm going to get up early and then snooze button? You know, what are your rules in your life? Which are your habits, right? And all of those things are connected to your physical body and how they're operating. If an addict goes and can't stop drinking or can't stop working or can't stop watching porn or whatever that looks like, right? And that's connected to your gut health. Do you not think that your energy level, your moods, your endurance, like all of that, it's all connected. All of it. Your soul, it's all, this body is a container. It just is.
Absolutely. So really doing like integration of personhood, like getting attuned to that is key to actually moving into the space where you're generating the life you want, like the life of your greatest desire, as opposed to you feel like the life is happening to you as opposed to happening through you. So I get the connection. So we get endurance, and I'm hearing discipline in that conversation as well. The discipline comes from the endurance commitment, like really making sure that relationship.
You get strong at discipline when you notice your breakdowns, and when you have a healthy connection to, instead of beating yourself up that you didn't go do a workout or you didn't do your challenge for the day, instead of beating yourself up, you start to go, oh, that's where my gap is.
Yeah.
But I already know what my gain is because I focus so much on what I've accomplished and what I've gained in my life that the gap is like the gap never goes away for driven people. But if you're fueled with how great you are and you're fueled with love and you're fueled, and the way that you get fueled with that is like take a moment after, you know, listening to us and actually write down everything over the last like 12 months or even 4 months, last 4 months that you've gained inside your life.
Yeah.
Just take inventory of it and you'll see, wow, like the gap starts to not feel so intimidating. It doesn't feel like it's such a big jump anymore because you've got it.
Right. So then that leads to the conversation around integrity. Like, let's define integrity right now, and then talk about what it means to actually nurture really healthy integrity in every area of your life.
It all comes down to your personal responsibility and your leadership. You know, if you can keep your word to yourself, now I'm not saying that everybody keeps the word to themselves 100%. It definitely takes a lot of practice, but you need to keep your word to yourself. And when you break your word to yourself, you need to clean it up as soon as possible. Very landmark-like work. I've never done landmark. People always ask me if I have. I haven't. But I've done a lot of leadership work, and we own a leadership training, you know, and, you know, the people who have the highest integrity are typically people that, you know, they grow in referrals in life. And what I mean by that is that people show up to help you a lot more to get ahead in any area of your life because you're reliable, you're dependable, and you do what you say you're going to do. Now, the only caveat that I say to that is you need to have the endurance to stretch, because if you're not stretching in your life, you're not inspiring.
Right.
And if you're not inspiring, you're missing the attractor factor in your life. And so in today's day and age, to just stand out in your groups of friends, to attract better friends. I mean, some people can look around them and you are the sum of the, what they say, the closest 5 people that you spend your time with. And so there's many times in my life I wasn't proud of the 5 people I spent my time with, you know what I mean? And so it's like, well, how do I attract that next level person? Live inspiringly, you know, stretch, be in the endurance, and then keep your word to yourself. And when you break your word to yourself, clean it up. Don't be a loser and beat yourself up. That, like, just don't do that. Like, I want to create so much pain around you being a loser that you just don't do that to yourself. Like, you have one life to live, like, win it. You know what I mean? Like, win it, like, optimize. Jesse Itzler always says, everybody has another gear. I mean, on Instagram, if you watch him, like, coach his wife on Instagram, like, he's like, there you go, honey, there's your other gear. I mean, she's a billionaire, you know, and she's got this incredible company, and she's a mom of 4. I mean, she's got a great relationship with her husband, her kids, her mom. Like, you know, like, you sit there and go, there's a lot of things working. I think she's found her extra gear, but there's still an extra gear. Until we die, there's still an extra gear. You know what I mean? And then when we die, you know, our souls go where our souls go, but there's another extra gear. It's pretty cool.
It's really inspiring.
I also want to just share one last thing that's just coming up for me right now that was in this book called To Create, which I loved last night when I was reading. And it said that, you know, have a good connection with work, because scripture actually says when you go up to be back with God, you're going to work, you're going to serve. So work is actually a way that you worship. And so love the work that you're doing, because you're actually honoring God, that you are taking the gifts that you were given and you're going out there and you're doing something with them. And I know sometimes you think it's all about you, and that's why we self-reflect on pain, but stop looking at all the pain as poor me and I'm in it. And I get it. I mean, I've had bulging discs in my back. I'm trying to have another baby. I just was pregnant and it didn't stick. I had a miscarriage last year. You know, Zach's Montessori school is ridiculously expensive. You know, the company grew extraordinarily, and I was 2 years ago, I was up at 2:30 in the morning every single night for 10 months. You know, like, you know, there are lots of moments where you and I can feel really victim-y and sorry for ourselves. And I'm not saying you never feel it, but like that year that I was up at 2:30 in the morning for 10 months, there was only one time that I sat up in the middle of the night and looked at my husband and went, what am I doing? What am I doing? Like, I don't need any more money. And that became all about me, right? Listen to the context of what I said to him. We don't need any more money. I don't need any more money. I should just downsize this company to reduce the pressure and just take on some private clients and make, you know, $3 million a year. And because that doesn't feel like a stretch to me anymore, right? Like, that feels very familiar, you know, very comfortable. And Ash said to me, Ash is my husband, he said, okay, honey, I'll support you on anything you want. And I looked at him and went, I don't want to hear that. And I ran into the living room, dropped on my knees. I prayed, surrendered, and said, I worship you. You know, like, this is the gift you gave me. I'm going to learn how to hire the right people so that, you know, I was in a stretch. We grew so much. I needed to fulfill, and I needed to handle things operationally inside the company that we needed an operator to do, you know? And so it took me months to find that person. My point is I don't know if you're in a month, a week, a year, or 5-year stretch right now. I don't know. But what I do know is that if you give up, you lose. If you give up, you lose. And that calling doesn't go away. You can downsize and retract, but it doesn't go away. You're either living, you're growing, creating, you were born to create, or you're retracting, you're dying, and you're going backwards. And eventually you'll hit depression and all those things. It just, that's what goes down that way.
That's what it is. You know, what I say to the women in my community when they come to me and they say, I don't know my purpose. I don't know what I'm here for. They have all kinds of different interests, or they have all kinds of different stretches, you know, different trials, tribulations. They've got lots of different things going on. I say, I can tell you your purpose in 2 seconds. Your purpose is to prove God. That's it. Your purpose is to prove God. You have gifts and talents that you were given to prove his existence. Your purpose is to prove God. You are a human being that is having a spiritual experience in a material world. You prove. So all these multiple miracles, you get to be in charge of them. You get to generate them. You get to create them. Those are the stretches, you know, and they get bigger and bigger and bigger the more you prove the existence of this power. And so that's what this is about, so much of it. Well, this has been a pleasure. This has been a joy. I'm super excited to learn from you and to share this space with you. Is there anything that you'd like to leave us with? Just words of wisdom, specifically to support women who are just about to believe in themselves, not quite there, but are really, really wanting to step out there and just not even having that $5,000 a month conversation. Like, I don't even know if that's possible for me. What would you have?
Be careful who influences your mind. Big fan of that. You know, don't allow, like when I wanted to find my husband, get really clear about what the thing is that you want to create, because you are called to create, right? Pay attention to what you want to create, and whatever you want to create, become hyper obsessed and focused on it and make it a priority. If you want things to kind of click quicker into place, then I recommend that you become single focused like a man does. When a man wants a woman, he becomes single focused and he hunts her, right? When a man wants a project, a real masculine man, he becomes single focused and she thinks he's now ignoring her or not giving her time. It's like, no, he's just single focused on something else now. Yeah. Learn from our masculine partners. Raising children is very masculine, right? Yes. And so it's not about, making a plan is very masculine. That's why a guy takes you out on a date, right? So just pay attention to what nature teaches us a lot, and know that if you want to create something, you got to bring in some of your masculine energy, and that piece means get hyper obsessed and focused on that one thing, which means for me, I do hacks on my life where I'll put a Post-it note on the wall, on the fridge. I'll take a picture of the Post-it note and, you know, let's see what's on my phone now, and put it on my phone. Like right now, I'm remembering right now, God is within her. She will not fail. You know, and the reason why is because I'm trying to have another baby, right? So it's like all these things are connected for me with that. And so when I wanted to see everything was connected on that. And so you can actually knock things off your tasks and your to-do list by getting hyper focused on one at a time. The problem is people are focused on too many things at the same time, and they have this mentality, and there are lots of trainings out there that say you can have it all. And I do believe you can have it all, just not at the same time. You can't bring it all in at the same time. You know, my ladies who have babies and newborns, and they're like, I want to have my biggest year yet. Okay, but know that you're going to sacrifice your relationship with your husband then. You know, it's like something has to give in different areas, and you make agreements for those. So don't try and have it all at the same time. Build your life, build your human, whatever human you want to be, build it and build the life around it. And, you know, don't envy what anybody else has. Be inspired by them.
Amen. Wow. That's a treasure in and of itself. Thank you so much. This has been a pleasure. Everybody, you know what to do. Go over to Facebook, Google the Supreme Love Project, knock on the door. Someone from the team will let you in, and we will engage in a deeper conversation about what we've talked about today over in that space. I'm Jeanine Staples. I'm here with Shanda Sumpter, and I'm the founder of the Supreme Love Project. And you can heal the tears in your soul, and you can launch revolutions in your life. I'll see you on the next episode. Bye, everybody.